Hello, everybody. Welcome back. I'm just going to click on this thing over here. All right. This 6 p.m. thing is really strange. You don't, it's perfect in keeping with what we're going to talk about tonight. The thing is, it's really strange. And I mean, I knew it was really strange, and it's really strange. It's just really strange. So before we get started, I'm already ahead of myself here. I think the first thing I want to say is welcome back. Welcome back to an upheaval in the way I've been doing this. Welcome to accommodating the very, very loud work that is being done in my building. What they're doing is they're pulling out all of the marble tiles in front of the elevator and new carpet because it's been a while and it's, stuff you got to refresh. But it means a whole lot of banging and scraping and drilling and whatnot. And so basically, there's just not going to be a way that I could be heard that you would be able to even deal with it. So we decided, my team and I, that we would just these two times, Tuesday and now today, Thursday, to go for 6 p.m., keep the ball rolling. So to begin, for those of you who have just joined us, thank you. Thank you for coming. Thank you for deciding to check it out. I'm Abby Hackyard. And once upon a time, a long time ago, in a far off land, I was a mom on television. I was also a bunch of Care Bears and a lot of things. In between those major events in my career, I also did a lot of work coaching people in how to find their career, in how to find their brand, in how to build their blueprint for a success that they could live with, that didn't hold them hostage. Sometimes I helped them write books on it. Sometimes I just helped them rebuild, reframe what they were doing. Every single one of these things that I've taught people to do, I had learned myself. And there's no better way to make sure you know what you're doing than to practice it, right? There's no way that's better than to make sure you've got it right first before you throw it out into the world. Now, the thing that's so interesting about this conversation right now is that there are so many changes going on. And so many of us are feeling overwhelmed, blindsided, exhausted. It's confusing, it's upsetting. And there's a really big tendency to just say, I need to lie down for a minute and then forget how to get up. And that takes all the joy out of everything. So I said, when I was getting this whole concept project started, what I want to do is help people find the joy again. I want to give people the tools, the access to their toolkits, your toolkits, not one that I sell you, and show you how it works now. Because all the tools are still perfect. All the need they fill, perfect. What we have to do is upgrade how we use them. We have to refocus the why and the how, and the when and the where. But all the stuff we've already had all this time is still perfect, still awesome. It plays into this understanding that I grasped quite a few years ago. And that is that our superpower, that thing we do, is transferable. It doesn't matter what title you had. It doesn't matter what specific job you filled. Our superpower is how we do that thing we do. And it's not limited by location. All we need is a mentor brainstorming set of steps to figure out how to reframe it, how to update it, how to retrain ourselves to apply it in a new way, in a new place. Every time. And I mean that every time. No matter how many times we have to reset, our basic superpower, that thing that we do, is always needed. It's always successful, and it always makes us feel good about who we are. So that's why we're talking about this today. Before I get started, I want to update you on something. So when I realized that they were going to be completely remodeling the hallways, my theme for my video on Tuesday was, we might as well own the elephant. If there's an elephant in the room, we might as well make it our own. So I wanted you to meet, and I made a joke and I said, it would be really funny if we had a small elephant, we called him Henry. Hi everybody, this is Henry. this is he's got a trunk that's pointing that way. So this is Henry, and I realized that when I said, how fun would it be to have a small elephant in the room with us at all times, so that we could actually own the elephant in the room. And then I said, so then why don't I go get an elephant? So he's just a little guy. He's just a little guy, but I think he's adorable, and I have him on my desk. And it's my reminder to myself that when changes are imposed on us, we can be a victim. We can say, the world is against me. Or we can say, it's my world, it's my change, and I'm going to leverage it and ride it to Wyoming. We can make those choices, whether we are victimized or volunteers or Vikings. And I've chosen always, always to be a Viking. It doesn't mean you have to be a Viking. It just means that if there's an elephant in the room and you're feeling overwhelmed, just reduce the size of the elephant and give him a name that you like. And I particularly like the fact that his trunk has an angle. I think it makes him all the more perfect, don't you? Anyway, Henry, I have a video to do, so I'll talk to you later. Is that all right? All right, but enough about Henry. Now, the topic today that I decided to call tent pegging. I've actually visited this topic a couple of times. And excuse me, somebody pointed out to me the other day that tent pegging is actually an equestrian sport. And I said, well, sure it is. Sure it is if you have a horse. But if you're going camping, if you're roughing it, if you're getting out there in the wild to find your roots and begin again, you know, you can picture me doing that, right? You can picture me doing that. With my shoes and a wine glass, right? Absolutely. So if you're going to be facing the world, and you're going to be facing the world every day, and you're going to be facing a world that changes all the time, then it's not enough to just show up and say, I'm ready. That gets you in the game, but it doesn't give you what you need to stay. And I had the most remarkable conversation the other day with a very talented, very, very clever, very witty fellow whose name is Liam McGuire. And Liam has become something of an expert on hockey. He's in Canada, he's in Ottawa, and he basically has made it his mission in life to know everything that anybody cared to know about the stats, the trivia, the players, the game. And he is always brought in to talk about high points and low points and what to expect when games are broadcast, when players are in town. He tours the country. He's done, I have no idea how many radio shows. I think he's got 4 books published, or he's working on his 4th. And he's just the affable guy you always want to have around in order to keep the conversation alive. Now, the other thing that he knows a lot about, because hockey being hockey, is that Liam is fairly knowledgeable about golf as well, because when you're done playing one, you transfer to the other. So he and I were talking about having a conversation, a shared conversation about excellence. And I said, and I explained the whole Pivotry in motion. I explained the whole thing about taking ownership, about being able to get up again and start over no matter what, about the skills that we have that allow us to do that. And when we were having that conversation, he kept saying, right, you're right. My God, yeah, 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 absolutely. Oh, yeah, yeah. And every point I touched, he completely was on top of it, like he'd invented it. And early on and our first conversation was a few weeks ago now, and he said, it's like we've been having this conversation for years. And I said, well, it's because showing up isn't just relegated to sports, it's life. And as a military kid, you it's not enough to show up. You have to be able to be ready to show up when all the rules have changed. Last week we lived in France. Today, apparently, we live in Germany. Probably I'm going to have to learn how to say stuff differently. Probably I'm not going to be able to find my house for the first few weeks. It's not enough to bring my best game. I need to keep it updated. I need to keep training. I need to keep showing up. And as Liam said, back in the day, you used to go to training camp to get fit. Now you have to get fit to go to training camp. Jeremy, yay, good to see you. And so Liam said, it's so competitive now. There is so much going on. Things change so fast. You can't just show up after, days, weeks, just kind of sitting around. You have to be ready to be ready. And I said, is that a fact? And I said, I'm going to tell you something very interesting to me, anyway, is that my dad was in the Canadian Air Force. And back in the midst of time, there was a doctor, a Air Force doctor, who came up with a fitness program exclusively for the military. And one program was for men, and the other program was for women. Men's program was called 5BX, women's 10BX. And you can go online, you can Google it, you can use whatever search engine you want, and it'll pop up and you read it. Now, this doctor pretty much was the guy who invented low impact exercises. Aerobic, sure, but mostly low impact as opposed to pounding hard. And his concept was the early foundations of core strength training, because you can add on to that. But in order to maintain, in order to be ready, you have to be strong at your core. And this speaks to a whole lot more than fitness. You have to be ready in your head. You have to be ready energetically. You have to have an attitude of, I'm here to play, I'm here to stay. My dad used to take me to play tennis, and he would always say, never put your weight on your heels. Always have your weight on the balls of your feet. Why? Because the second it takes to transfer your weight from back, where you're just standing, and ready, can mean the difference winning the shot or not, because stuff happens really fast. And he as soon as he joined the military, as soon as that program came along, he used it. And when I was a little kid, he taught it to me. And my mom used it. And his whole plan was, we never know what life is going to throw at us. The smart thing to do is to be ready. And I couldn't agree more. Obviously, it has helped me. It has helped me in ways I can't even list. There's so many things that I've benefited through because of the whole readiness mantra. So here's the thing I want to explain about the 5 and 10BX program. And this is the core. This is going to take us immediately to the whole tent peg concept. Every workout program you get, whether you sign on, whether you go to a gym, there are steps and stages, right? You start with a warm up, and then you do the simple stuff, and then you do more and more and more, and then you do a cool down, and then you do a relax, and then we'll see you tomorrow, or we'll see you next week. No matter what kind of program you're doing, that's basically the formula, right? Warm up, begin small, gradually grow, cool down. And whatever tools you use, you're live now, I'm live now. Whatever tools you use, the formula is the same. Warm up, gradually increase, cool down. What doesn't change in most workout programs is what you actually do in those 3 stages of the workout. You do this much of this, you do that much of that. If you're doing weights, you'll gradually add weights, but it's still the same basic thing. The thing with the 5 and 10 BX is that every few days you add 1. Every few days you bring 1 more rep. And what that does is it gradually, very slowly increases your core strength, because you are pushing yourself just the tiniest little bit more, just the tiniest bit. So it's not a shock to the system. You don't give up because I can't do this. I can't go from lifting 5 pounds to 100 pounds. I can't do that. And of course nothing is that dramatic, right? But what it gives you truly, and this is the important thing. I just noticed something in the side here. I don't know what. Well, then hello there. Yeah, hang on a second. Something is just kind of a spammy thing. Yes, there we go. Okay, you're live now. Surprise too. The reason I'm live now, I'll interrupt what I was saying. I just saw a spammy thing. The reason I'm live now is because all this week they're doing very loud drilling renovations in the hallways of the building, and there would have been no possibility. So I thought, you know what? This Tuesday and Thursday, 6 p.m. Let's see what happens. So back to what I was talking about. The 5 and 10 BX workout programs designed back in, I think, the 60s for the Canadian Air Force by a Canadian Air Force doctor were not only designed to increase core strength, they were designed to teach you that the habits we form that allow us to do things automatically without thinking can be fluid, can be altered. And what happens when we do that, when we learn that as a habit, is that we are able to accept small, flexible changes. We're not rigid. So if yesterday or for the last week I've done 5 sit-ups, tomorrow I'm going to do 6. And I'm going to do 6 sit-ups for a week. And then at the end of the week, I'm going to do 7. And 1 more is no big deal. What's important is I'm training myself to get accustomed to a habit where same old isn't, where the habit is incremental change, and that I get used to that. I'm not threatened by it. I'm not confused by it. I'm not overwhelmed by it. I don't get angry because of it. I don't defend myself against it, because it was easy, because it was simple, and I was good at it. If I could do 6, I can do 7. And after a whole week, if I can do 7, I can do 8. And gradually over time, each of the exercises within the program adds 1. What my new habit is welcoming the plus, welcoming the add-on. What does that give me? It gives me a readiness and a willingness to take on the new. And this is what's really important at a time in our lives when everything seems to be changing all over the place. We don't really know where to start. We feel like we're walking in quicksand. My poor old dog, years ago, I had a not that bright dog, and I slept on a waterbed. The dog would jump on the bed to wake me, and he wouldn't know what to do because what he thought was solid wasn't. And it would mess with his head all day. And he'd forget in the morning, and he would do it again. The whole idea is, if change is going to be happening to us increasingly and in multiple ways all the time, then we might as well get good at it. And we don't have to leap in and say, ha ha, if we're not in that mood. So many of us, me too, a little tired, not really ready to climb on the horse and ride off. Not as ready as I'd like to be. So how about in the middle of my workout, how about I give myself permission to just add one? That's it. And after a week, when my muscles have stopped saying, ow, oh my God. I did my first exercises on Monday. Tuesday, I thought I was going to die. Not true. Wednesday was the day. And I thought, why do I put this off? Why do I wait so long to start again? The thing is, I do that every time. So if we create a grow and change program, concept, habit that gives us a feeling of ownership, that gives us a feeling of, yeah, I got this. A little sore today, but I'll be better tomorrow. And that every so often we simply add one. We know we can do it because we did it the last time. Easy peasy. So how that helps is that we don't dig our heels in when we need to be able to move, to grow, to change, to own. We don't have that fear that if we don't put up our defenses, who knows where this will end? We don't have to be in that frozen, rigid, cortisol-driven, fear-based mindset. All we're doing is adding one. That's it. It's simple. And so what I've called this concept, this process, I've called it tent pegging. And the first time I mentioned it, I got a whole bunch of comments from people who said, camping? You go camping? Seriously? And the thing is, no, I don't go camping. I don't have to go camping. I went camping. And I said to myself, yeah, we don't really want to do this for long. So what do I have to do? And, it was back in the day when you belonged to those Girl Scouts and Guides and Brownies and paratroopers and whatever. And they said, well, the object of the exercise, Abby, is to earn badges. And when you've earned all the badges, you could become a camp counselor. And I said, or not go. And they said, well, yes, but I mean, everybody loves camping. And I said, sure. So I earned all the badges. I earned badges every time I turned around. I said, what's the next badge? And I earned badges. I had a box full of badges by the time I went home that summer. And I never went again because I didn't have to. Because nobody would say, well, you still have 6 badges in order to get your whatever. Yeah, I had all the badges. And now here's what I learned about camping. Aside from, wouldn't it be better to just get a room at a hotel and visit the campground? No? Okay. Fine then. So this is what I learned. You have a tent and you have a sleeping bag. Now, this first thing is off topic. You need to get find a juniper bush. It's like a low to the ground pine tree, and all the branches are growing out like this. And you cut them and you place them on top of each other, and then you put the sleeping bag on top because the juniper branches are uplifting. And so you don't find yourself sleeping on rocks all night long and you have pain in your back. Anyway, that's an aside. There's an interesting thing about a tent and the ropes that come from the tent, and you insert a peg in the bottom and you tap it into the ground. And the interesting thing about the tent and the ropes is that in the night, when the temperature drops and there's moisture that comes out in the air, it forms on the sides of the tents. It's called dew, forms on the side of the tent, and it forms on the ropes. It doesn't freeze unless you're a lunatic and you're camping in the winter. It doesn't freeze. What it does do, though, is it just sits there. It's moist. And the ropes stretch. And the tent fabric stretches because it's damp. And so what you need to do when you get up in the night to go and scare a bear is you need to check that the ropes are still taut, that it's not all saggy, that the tent isn't going to fall down and scare the living daylights out of you in the middle of the night. So you check to see how tight, how firm the ropes are, because when you put the tent up, they were nice and firm. You checked. Each rope has to be checked separately. Why? Because if one is loose, they're all loose. Tightening one doesn't accomplish anything. You have to go around systematically and tighten each one. How do you tighten it? You pull the peg out, move it out further, put it back in, tamp it down. You check the walls of the tent. You check the door of the tent. If it's all sagging, you need to pull the pegs out further. Why? So that the tent is still protecting you. It's still solid. If the wind picks up, sometimes things can get loose. You need to check that. Why? If it rained, you need to check that. Why? Because your tent is your cave. It's your home. It's your safe space. And you need to know that you're safe. So the act of going around your safe space and checking each peg, each rope, each distance is what I have come to call tent pegging. It is incremental. Every little shift affects the next one, affects the next one, affects the next one. And so you want to look after all of them. It doesn't take long. You don't have to be big and strong. You just have to do the work. How is this relevant? Because that's what life is. The small incremental changes every day. We owe it to ourselves and our loved ones and our lives and our goals and our dreams that we're okay. That the little thing that happened, we double check to make sure we're okay. We bumped ourselves. Sometimes, I'll suddenly think, where did I get that bruise from? Well, I bumped into something, and at the time I didn't stop to check. So the bruise comes as a surprise. When I went out the other day, I turned suddenly, and there was a table in the way, and I banged up against it, and I said, ow, that's going to be a problem. And it is not a big problem. It's just that I sort of bruised the muscle a little bit. So anytime I do, so it's on this side, so I'm not going to do it. But if I do that, the muscle goes, ow. I think, oh, yeah. So it's going to take me a few days, right, to everything calms down. If I'd paid attention where I was going, I might have missed that bump. When I did it, I knew where I'd done it, it was probably going to be painful. So it's not a surprise. It's not a surprise. I just have to compensate for it because I didn't look after myself. So this is what I want to talk about right now. Here we are, it's May. We've managed to make it through the really strange period of the year. We're now in kind of a middle area where it's probably not going to snow again right away. And so we're now all excited that spring is happening. And of course, I'm in the northern part of the world where we get all these different seasons. But it is also a kind of a turning point for a lot of us because school is out. I live right across from a university, and there was this mass exodus a week ago. They're all done. They've done their exams. Woohoo! And they're all gone. It's like slam. It's really quiet. You think, wow, that's right. This is what it's like when they go home. Was I ready for it? No, because I wasn't thinking about it. I wasn't paying attention. So periodically, when I expect noise, I'm thinking, what was that? And the answer is nothing. That makes me not ready, doesn't it? It makes me easily distracted, doesn't it? It makes me ill prepared for a big surprise that might come along. And there's always big surprises that come along. If we figure out how to create steps for ourselves that are small, incremental preparations, and we do them in the moment when we think of them, every next thing is easier. Billy and I talk about this all the time. I have to go and get coffee. You too? I have to go and do this. I know I've been putting it off, but now I really have to go because I don't have any coffee. Okay. When I'm shutting down for the night, I always go to the kitchen and double check to make sure that I prep the coffee because I have one of those machines where you can push a button in it. Miraculously, it makes coffee. And sometimes I'll discover, oh, I didn't. What was I doing? While I'm making dinner, I normally do it, but I got distracted. Maybe somebody called. So I prep the coffee so I don't have to prep the coffee in the morning. I put things in place so that I don't have to start from scratch. I'm not one of those people who starts Christmas shopping in July. I'm not that prepared. But I want my day to begin with the least amount of dear God in heaven. I want my day to be easy so that I can just kind of sidle into it and be ready for whatever comes. So I make those things my priority. And what I'm talking about with Liam and what I'm talking about with people and groups and you and clients is this readiness, this recognition that we are that we are ready and really good at more things than we realize. We have an ability to bring out, I was watching a short video today. This fellow calls this behavior parts therapy, parts strategy. And what he was describing, I realized, was pivotry in motion. All the different parts of our personality and which one is better suited. And I thought, wait till he sees pivotry in motion, he's going to kick himself. So the idea is, which part am I playing? And who do I have to be? Which part of me do I bring? You know, talking in Liam's language, it's hockey. And we're playing that team. And their strength is this. So which of my skills do I need to bring? And the coach is looking at the game strategy. And which players is he matching up with? And what are we throwing out and replacing in order to meet that different challenge in our unique way? It doesn't mean that we need different players. It doesn't mean that what they do isn't good enough. It's how we put them together, how we are able to shift on the fly, that is quite often the reason we win or fail. And the training camps that these athletes go to is more than put your skates on, face the front. The training camps are to keep them sharp. The training camps are to practice. This is what happens when we call this play. This is what we need to think about every day. This is the next level up that we need to practice to bring on the off chance that we need it. And there's always somebody on the team, hopefully more than one, who is the magician, that you bring out. You say, work your magic, do your thing. And everybody crosses their fingers, pulls the pin on the grenade, and has it ready. We can't ask that of people if we haven't taught ourselves and each other that change is our best defense, our best offense, our best superpower. How we get good at it is making those tiny, small changes in our routine the habit itself, the one we perfect every day. All we have to do every few days is add one. It's not scary. It's easy. I could add two. No, just one. Just one for this exercise, just one for this exercise, just one for this. That way, your 10-minute workout isn't suddenly an hour and 45 minutes. It's still something that you can do while the coffee's brewing. It's still something you can do easily in the scope of your day. When I get ready for my videos normally, I have a whole thing going on so that I can enjoy the run-up. If something goes wrong, if there's a fire alarm, if there's something else, if somebody calls, I've got so much in place that I'm not completely off kilter because I was raised to be ready for change. I was raised to be good at what's thrown at me. All I've done is practice it every day, and every so often add one. So this is what I wanted to talk about today. This is, we're coming up to Mother's Day. We're coming up to a celebration of Emma's for the many things she gave us. We're coming up shortly after that to Father's Day. And then we're coming up to summer holidays. Even if we no longer have school, even if we don't have kids in school, even if we've never been in school, these things are part of our culture and they influence us. What the things are in stores that are on sale, what the plans are for the next few weeks, all of this has become part of our culture. What do we do if we've planned a picnic and it looks like rain? Do we have a plan B? Do we have a plan C if the place is closed? Are we ready to shift on the fly? Is our core strength, our imagination, and our confidence, and our readiness to say, bring it, I'm walking here. I've learned how to do all this, so I didn't have to do it again. Are we ready? Because the only person who can make us ready is us. And the fun, crazy conversation that I'm having with Liam, I said to him when we first started talking, you know what would be a riot? I'll tell you what would be a riot is if I showed up in a room to give a talk with you. Because everybody in the room is going to say, what? Two of these things are not like the others. And the conversation is, actually, we are. We are so alike. It's crazy. Why? Because actors and artists and everyday heroes and people we count on to make things okay are our leaders, are our key professional athletes. Just different. We bring something in a different way for a different reason. We don't go home with a trophy. We might go home with a raise. We might go home with an incredible feel good that we had an amazing day. And the only way we do that easily is not only core strength in this case being confidence in we got this. No matter how tired, no matter how confused, no matter how exhausted, no matter how concerned about something crazy going on, as long as our core strength, our belief in us, our certainty that we are ready is all we need. As long as our training program, our habit for staying fit, has also taught us that we're safe if all we add, if all we change is +1. Tent pegging is making sure easy, simple win fix. So every time I do one of these videos, I always say, I will have a simple win hack for you. Because Pivotry and motion are us. So the simple win hack, I have these later folders, right? And I've come up with a thing to add to this that I'm going to talk about another day. But I've come up with a thing to add that takes it into the real world as well as on the page. As I said, that's coming next week. For today, the simple win, when you write it down, when you've finished whatever's going on and you take a moment before we leave the house, before we get out of the car, after we get off the bus, we walk in the building, we stop in the lobby, we write down anything that bugged us, anything that triggered us. Quickly, just point form. That guy on the bus, road rage, eyebrow pencil, the dog, whatever it was that triggered us, we write it down. It's in the later folder. We put the later folder in our pocket, and I know you can put it in your pocket because it's the same size as a phone. That's why I made it that way. And that means that the next step you take, coming into the building, getting into your office, sitting down, at the store, wherever it is that you spend your day, you have logged all the stuff that was bugging you, and every next chapter is a clean slate. It's a clean slate. So the hack for this, for the +1, is you've written something down. You've said to yourself, yeah. I'm looking down because I'm pretending to write it. Yep. You draw the line. I've always said you draw the line, you put it in your pocket, you carry on with your day. Below the line, pause for a second. What's your +1? My +1, always below the line, +1, go get them. Go get them. No matter how I feel, no matter, I'm going to tell you, no matter how hard those daily trips to the hospital for 7 months, the kilometers in the dark driving between transport trucks because lights were out on the highway at 5 a.m. and 9 p.m. 9 hours every day sitting in a hospital room talking to medical experts, going and getting this or that, thanking people for this or that, getting home, taking clothes off in the order in which I put them on, making a sandwich for the next day because they don't feed the visitors. At the end of every chapter, walking the 1,850 steps from the parking lot to the hospital and the hospital to the parking lot. When I got in the car and I sat down and I listed what bugged me and I drew the line underneath my +1, go get them. And I did. Because I could. Because I practiced +1 every day. And it's only one. It's only one. 5 sit-ups. Oh, it's the week. +1. One more. And then you have this incredible satisfaction that you did it. It's only one, please. It's only one more. How hard could that be? It's a piece of cake. But you did it. And you did it for a week. And now it's +1. And every day, our core strength gets stronger. And every day, at the end of the day, when we read over the things that bugged us and we circle them when they no longer matter, when they no longer trigger us, we see the ones that still niggle a little bit and we say, okay, that's something to look forward to working on. But under the line, every section in the book, +1, go get them. That is an incredible thing to read to yourself at the end of the day. Because you did it. Now, you can get some sleep. Bagatelle. So that, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, humans of all shapes and sizes, that is the talk for today. On behalf of my elephant in the room, say hello, Henry. On behalf of my elephant in the room, and everybody who is struggling a little bit and doesn't really want to say anything, well done. Well done. All you have to do tomorrow is +1. Just one. What do you think? Doable? Workable? Well, I got to tell you, I've been doing it a long time, and it seems that it is. It seems that it does work. So I'm going to love you and leave you. Next week, my chats are really relevant to you lately, coincidentally. Timing is everything, you know, Jeremy. Timing is everything. Vern, colors of our lives. I'm glad you were here. What I want to say about next week is that they're going to have stopped doing this, whatever that is out in the hall. And you know, when I'm always friendly and saying hello to people, and I stuck my head out and I said, can I come and just have a look at what you're doing? I'm so excited. They said, yeah, we're just breaking for lunch. So I came down the hall and it's all new marble on the floor. And I said, oh, wow. And the fellow said, do you need to go downstairs? And I said, yeah, well, I'm going to have to, but I'll go and, you know, because you have to take the stairs. And he said, no, you know what? Shh, don't say anything. But when you come up, you'll have to go to 16 and then come down. I said, thank you. And they said, don't tell anybody. That was my +1. That was my +1. I was interested in them. I thanked them. I told them that they were doing a great job. And they did a +1 for me. Because they could. And it cost them nothing. Because they were going to take the elevator down in a minute too. They were going to lunch. Why should they make me use the stairs? I'm a nice lady. So back to normal, if there is such a thing, next week, usual time, 10 a.m., New York City time. I will be with you. In the meantime, this weekend, there are things afoot that I will be talking about. Liam and I are going to meet again and chat about our plan. And I think you're going to be really excited about this because I love the idea of cross overlapping. I love the idea that people see how things connect. It just makes so much sense. So between now and then, you know the drill. And if you don't, you're going to know now. Hello, Anne. Evening with Abby. Oh, yeah. That's the thing I should ask, I guess. It's not always easy for me to do evenings because I have, other things that I've planned. But if I can, you guys let me know if an evening like this works. I can't do it later, but I can usually try and fit it in, carefully. Not all the time, but sometimes. I'll try and work it out if you think it's a good idea. So until I hear from you about that, until I see you next week, be good to you. You deserve it. You are my +1. And I want you strong and confident and smiling and deciding that maybe you deserve the joy after all. As Ellen Bont says, chasing the joy. No, no, no. I'm inviting the joy. Come in, sit down. We have a chair for you. Be good to you. Tell your friends that this is fun. And remember to hug your loved ones because they deserve it too. Thank you. You are the reason this works. You know that, right? You are the reason. You are my +1.